Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're located, and welcome to this webinar about what's new in ForNAV. I'm Jan Sillerman, and with me today I have Michael as a presenter or co-presenter. Actually, he will do most of the presentation, and then we also have people that can help with question and answers as we go along. So just before kicking off, there's a few practical things I'd like to mention. If you have any questions, please use the tool. We might take them as we go along, or we will definitely take them at the very end of the webinar. And also the recording of this webinar will be available on our YouTube channel sometime during tomorrow. So some of the highlights on ForNAV 7.2. Well, first and foremost, we have support for the newest version of Business Central 23 that was announced or released like a month ago. And then we have a new key feature that we will talk about today, ForNAV File Service, giving you access to local files, again, you could say, from Business Central. We have support for e-invoicing and the German ZUGFeRD standard. We have some very nice, cool things to show you around how to use HTML text in reports. We have an update on Swiss QR bill, and we have some productivity enhancements regarding Temp Table and some enhanced JavaScript capabilities. And we will show you all of this during this next 35 to 45 minutes. But before doing so, I like to show you our updated list of standard reports. It's close to 100 now, and also in this release we have added a couple of new ones, still focused around the external documents, sales, purchase, service. We have some new label reports that has been improved. And of course, we also have some statistics which we are still working on adding new ones for future versions. But before handing over to Michael, I'd just like to show a few things that you might benefit from on our website. I'm sure most of you have seen this before. And of course, we fully know that if you are looking for something, the first place you start looking will probably be Google or another browser. But actually within our website, we have some pretty cool search capabilities. If I look for 7.2, I get the announcement on ForNAV 7.2, and here you have all the details regarding this. Also, we have our knowledge base articles, which are extremely popular. And again, here you can search on a specific topic, but you can also search on an error message. And in most cases, that will also pop up. If we know the error message, we will definitely add it to the KB article. We also have our coffee break. I haven't counted them recently, but I guess the number is probably close to 100 now. These 10-15 minute short videos on a specific topic. So if you have something you want to do, like adding serial numbers to an invoice, you will likely find a coffee break video on that specific topic that will then guide you through how you do this. And then finally, I just want to promote our download. We of course have our designer and converter and the direct print in the installer, where you can select whatever you want to install. And then we have the different versions of the report pack, cloud, on-prem, DLL, universal code. So you can find all the things you are looking for here on the download. But enough about that. Let's jump back to first part of the 7.2 presentation. So over to you, Michael.
Thank you, Jan. Just change the center and show my screen, so you should be able to see a PowerPoint. Do you see that?
Yeah, we see.
Okay, good. Okay. File service. Let me to presenter mode. So back in 1988, which is a long time ago, I created the first file API for, and also the current file API for Navision and now Business Central. But back then everything was on-prem, and now it's not. So when Microsoft moved the product to the cloud, they basically stopped the use of the file API, and now moving from the old world to universal code on-prem, they're also locking down these functions on-prem. So basically, you cannot use the file functions anymore from now on. And what we found out, given that we got a lot of feedback from partners, is that actually still is a need for having files on your local drives, because there's a lot of old solutions out there that depends on storing things on a hard drive that cannot use cloud storage. And also, if you have a lot of files or large files, then you run into a cost problem, because cloud storage is not free. And then, of course, there's the latency. If you use cloud storage, then it takes time to store and retrieve your files. So based on that, we decided to enhance our print service, which it already has a lot of these capabilities to also handle files. So basically, we created a code unit. So you need to install the ForNAV report pack, either for cloud or universal code, and then you get the ForNAV File Service code unit as part of that. And now you can simply start writing code. And it can do everything that the old API could do, and a lot more, because we have basically covered the capabilities of the .NET File and Directory API, which can do almost everything on this planet. Since we want to keep this as secure as possible, there's no calling into your local installation. So everything is done by calling out using a technology called SignalR that Microsoft also is using. And your data only exists on the Business Central instance or on this local machine hosting the file service. So no data goes to our service. Everything is handled using HTTPS between these servers, and nobody can hack into that. So basically, it consists of two parts. There's the directory API, where you can do all the APIs calls for directories, including copying, moving, scanning, and deleting directories. Also, we support the creation of subparts of APIs when you are dealing with files, because that can really be a nuisance. If you are going 5 levels below in a pass, you want the API to be able to create these automatic instead of having to create them. On the file API, of course, we support CRUD, and also we have a special function for handling text files, which is also stolen directly from .NET. And then if you ever worked with files, you know there's something called bombs, which is some annoying bytes that usually is placed in the beginning of a file. The most known is UTF-8, but it can also be just bytes. And usually, if you don't want a bomb, it's there, and you need to remove it, or you need to create one. But the good news is that our file API supports the presence of bombs and also creating new ones. Then, since everything goes on either in BC or on the local machine, there can be more errors happening than just if you write a file, because that's done local. So we have also introduced advanced error handling, so you can see what's going on in your system. If things goes wrong, you can see what is the root cause and go and fix it. And then when you are dealing with files over the internet, it's more costly than just writing directly to a file on your local drive. And because of that, we have also implemented batch operations. That means that if you want to write 1,000 bytes to a file one by one, you can batch it together in one operation and just have one call from BC to the file service, which makes it a lot faster. And you can batch operations like writing to file, deleting files, moving files around. So all the operations can be glued together in one. And we'll send over this this batch process, and it will be replayed on the client and do what it's supposed to do. So so we hope that when in the coming year or so, when you are moving from the old world to Universal Code or cloud, that you remember that we have such a solution, because this is doing exactly what you had in the old days and a lot more when you are dealing with files. And that's also, of course, part of 7.2. Because there's a lot of more in the file service that people want to know, we have a special webinar on this on the 7/7. We have a morning session and an afternoon session like today. And as usual, you can sign up at ForNAV.com for this. And there we'll dig deeper into how to do the error handling and setting up the system, so you get to know exactly what to do with it. Then in a complete different other ballpark, we have introduced ZUGFeRD e-invoicing. And for those of you who have no clue what ZUGFeRD is, it's a format invented by the Germans years ago, and it's mostly been used in the public sector, but now it's spreading rapidly into the private sector as well. And what it does, it's that it solves the problem that when you are dealing with documents, either you have a PDF which is readable by a human, but if you want to read it by a machine and recognize what's in it, it's hard, because you need to use OCR. And then on the other side, if you have an electronic document, that's hard to read by humans, but easy to read by a machine that knows the standard. And ZUGFeRD is actually a combination of both. So it has the readable document as a PDF, but then as an attachment, it has the electronic document format, which is widely used both in Germany, France, and Czech Republic, and the Netherlands, and some other countries. So it's a widespread standard. So we've decided to implement this as a first step in bringing the ForNAV report pack to also support electronic documents. But let's go and look how this actually works. So if I can find my way into Business Central, I can go and look at how this is set up. So the only thing you need to do to install it is to start with the ForNAV report pack, and then you on top of that, from AppSource or from our website, get the ZUGFeRD application. In this case, it's already installed, so I can go to the ForNAV setup and see how this is set up by default. And what happens down here in the bottom, you see there's a ZUGFeRD tab in here. And ZUGFeRD is two things. There's a profile which has these different options that sort of prescribe the capabilities it have, and then it has a version over here. Typically use extended and version 2.1, so that's also the default. But if you want to have different other combinations, you can just go in here and change it. But this is default, so if you like this, you don't have to do anything else. And this is basically all you need to do to get started. And since this works for both the ForNAV reports, but also for the built-in Word and RDLC reports, I can simply go up here and run the standard Word report in Business Central. This is report 1306, the standard Microsoft invoice report. And what we have done is to enhance this also to support ZUGFeRD. Normally, when I use ZUGFeRD, I would use the post and send functionality inside Business Central to get this done, because this is just sent using an email where the PDF document is attached. But since I want to show you what's actually in the PDF, I'll just run it from the request page, which is not the normal way to do it. So I'll send this to a PDF document. I need to render the document. And by the way, Since this is the normal Word document, it renders about 30 times slower than a normal ForNAV report. So we are a lot faster than this Word stuff that Microsoft supplies. But let's go and start the Adobe Reader to see what's in there. So I open this with the Adobe Acrobat Reader. Get it open. And up here you can see that it says it claims that it's PDF compatible. And actually what we have done is to get this validated with the ZUGFeRD authorities. So our solution is approved by them that this has the right PDF A standard and the different details in it. And it also has an attachment over here, which is a document called e-factura. That's also the standard. I can open this file and I can see what's in it. And here you'll find the electronic document that can be read into the Cosmos system, and they can get the data out of this. This is, of course, all the data that you normally get from a Business Central version, but if you want to tweak it and you have enhancement to this format that you get from table extensions and data you have in those, then you can actually go and modify this code. So if I can find my way into Visual Studio Code, you can see I have my ZUGFeRD extension here, and in here I have the code for creating an invoice in this format. And basically, all it takes is this around 100 lines of code that there's a method for creating the document in here. And if I can find some code really in here, you can see that it's just plain AL code that you're dealing with. And the reason for this, I personally hate XML ports because they are clunky and complex to use, and also there's no type safety in it, so you don't know if it's a date or an enum or whatever you have to put into fields that you need to know up front. And nothing worse than sending something off that the validation at the other end refuses to read, and now you have a problem. So we guarantee that the schema is what it should be, and the types is exactly the way the standard prescribes. If I go up here in Visual Studio Code, we can see that we basically have implemented all the different tables that makes up the ZUGFeRD format. And if I can find one of them, so the quantity codes, which is one of our favorites, that has a lot of values in here, and we basically have all of them implemented. And in a lot of cases, since this is a German standard, it's not obvious what these does. So we have also included the documentation to be able to understand this in German, which is a great help when you write the code. But basically, you can enhance this. We have an event subscriber to do this, or you can replace the code completely. So this is the for the document header, and this is for the lines. So we're at the sales line and go through and enters the VAT information and the discount like it should be in the standard in here. And I hope if you are used to write AL code, you agree that this is a lot easier than doing XML ports. If not, I have failed miserably on doing this. But now we have this PDF with the document. I also wanted to show you some of the difference between a ForNAV report and a standard Word report. So this is basically the standard report that Microsoft delivers out of the box. This is in Danish, of course, but it looks the same in other languages. So one thing that annoys me first is that this down here that's sort of dangling. That's actually the phone number, but you have to. I had to look in the layout to figure out what it really was. The invoice number is actually up here, and then if the customer at the other end uses OCR software, they need to guess if this is the invoice number or this is the invoice number down here. Next problem I saw is that in most countries the month is spelled with capital A on April. So this does look right. There's again also there's no page numbers on the Word document, which is normal on an invoice. And then if you look at the captions down here, you can see that enhedspris, that's actually one word, but since the word layout cannot figure out how to split it, the S is sort of dangling alone here. And the same is happening with the period over here from the VAT percentage. And even though this might sound strange that and Word is actually a word processing engine, it cannot figure out how to break up words. If you look at how this is done in ForNAV, you see that if we need to break up the words, we'll put in a dash between the S and the P here, so it's broken up like it should be. And over here you would break up between the VAT and percentage and the and have this on two lines where the period would not be dangling down here. This just looks unprofessional if you send it out to a customer. Another problem also in here, you cannot see this, but if this had lines with the line discount percentages, they would show up here. But Microsoft had not put in a caption in here, and the reason for that is that you cannot have conditions in Word documents. So so it will always say discount percentage, and nobody wants to have discount percent caption on your invoices if there's no discounts on any of them. So that's wrong, but so you will have these with, there will be these percentages, but there will be no captions describing it. Another thing that sort of hurt my eyes is that it says krona down here, and the Danish invoice is called DKK. So krona is also the currency of the Czech Republic and Finland, no, not Finland, but Norway and Sweden. So this is ambiguous, and it would never also be in capital letter. So so Microsoft have not put a lot of love in this compared to what we do with ForNAV. So I hope you got the idea that there's some value in using the ForNAV reports that Jan showed you compared to this. But enough Microsoft bashing. Let's move on to see some more. Okay, so from the start, ForNAV has supported that you can simply drag in a field that contains a blob field that contains an HTML string in ForNAV, and will automatically format it into the correct HTML text on your report. But over time, we are also increasing this because a lot of people love this, because you can do formatting that goes beyond just having texts, that also adds colors and fonts and bold and so on, and also combines pictures with text, which is really useful when you have to when you want to do an invoices or other reports that actually look alive compared to just having text. But the problems in the old days was that there was no way of entering the text inside BC. You had to have your own text and import this. But fortunately, with BC23, Microsoft has added a text editor in Business Central, and the only place it surfaces right now is on the item card, where you can put in marketing text. They also use it to showcase AI with Business Central, but that's a different story. So in this case, I have created a marketing text for this fancy desk, which has legs, by the way. It's a lot of properties that I put into this list over here, and I have a picture of it. But of course, when you are doing reports, you also want to have this as part of your reports. That could be on an item list, but it could also be on an invoice to show the customer what they actually have bought. So instead of having to work with clunky relations and extra table, we have decided to support this as a first-part citizen in the system. So if you look on a BC23 solution or 24 when it comes around or newer, then you'll see that under FieldLookups there's something called entity text, which is a way of showing that you can actually use this on these versions, and that you can use to get the text. So when using this, we automatically look up this entity text in the special table where it sits, unpacks the blob value, and render this automatic on your report. So the only thing you need to do is to drag this in on your report on a section, then set the control to can grow, and also the section to can grow. So you have can grow on both. That's the only thing you need to do, and then your HTML will show up on your report and be a part of the output you're creating. We are also working on technology where you can break this up on several pages, because that's of course the next question. So we'll add a lot of new functionalities moving on that can do more HTML in here. But basically this is just an enhancement of what we can do with blob fields. So already we can detect text strings or PDFs or images and whatever. So you just have to drag in the blob field, and then we'll figure out what's in it and print this on your report. You don't have to think about any formatting or what's actually in there. We'll figure it out for you. Okay. Then another thing that we have also done is that some version ago we added something called Swiss QR build reports, and you might think, what does this mean to me? But actually, what we found out is if you have other localizations, then you want to send these Swiss QR bill invoices to your Swiss customers, because they it's law in Switzerland, and then they need to have it this way. And basically, for those of you who've never seen this before, it's the Swiss QR bill is a standard way of setting up an invoice, and it has this special QR code where it has the Swiss flag in it. And also another reason why we created this is that Microsoft also has, of course, a Swiss QR bill for in their Swiss localization. But since they don't have the correct barcode to put in, they create a bitmap in here. The problem with the bitmap is if you print it out or you view it in a PDF viewer, it changes the resolution of it, and it will do rounding errors in the bitmap. You cannot see it with the just by looking at, but if you try to read by a barcode reader, it makes it often make errors out, and you cannot read the code, and then it's not a valid document anymore, and it has to. So because of that, a lot of the Swiss customers and partners are using our Swiss QR bill or one of the other variants of this. And what we did in this version is that we, beyond having this available in the Swiss, when you have the Swiss localization, this is now available for all localizations. So everybody on this planet can now send Swiss QR bill invoices and make the Swiss people happy, and we want to keep them that way. So that's also part of 7.2, of course. Then we decided to drill in on temp table automation, and this is temp table automation is a hidden gem that we have in the report pack that not a lot of people know, but they should, because it can save tons of time when you are doing reports. But let me go into Designer and show you how this works. So as an example, if I create a new header line report in here, just need to generate it. Here you go. So this has a header and a line. There's nothing new in this. But let's say I want to have a VAT or tax specification. Then I need to add a data item. And then I need to go to the VAT amount line. put this in. What you need to do now is that you need to fill the VAT amount table, which is a temporary table with the details from the lines on this invoice. And for that, you in the old days you had to write AL code. There's some standard code in Business Central to do this, but still you need to know where it is and do this coding. And having to maintain this code is not a lot of fun. So what we have done is that we have created something where we can fill up this temp table. So I need at first to set it to true, and then I can set this to auto-populate. And when I set a temp table to auto-populate, we automatically call an event in the ForNAV report pack. You can also modify this if you have your own temp tables. And then we detect if this is a table we know, and we look at the parent up here, which is the header, and we can also get the lines, of course, and then we automatically insert the records in the VAT amount table. So this is a very easy way of getting a lot of functionality free. And you can see this works just by modifying the layout. So you can also take an existing report and just modify the layout without writing a single line of AL code. And the only thing I'm missing, of course, is to just add sections with the header and the fields to show. We started on this some versions ago, but over time this has built up to be quite a number of these temp tables. And here the latest ones are if you want to have the address information from the responsibility center and have that to modify the way you print the company information address, you simply use as a temp table. And we also implemented a new feature that also came in the latest version of BC, that the currency, a bank account can be the default bank account for a given currency, and you want that to also show up on the invoices, and that's also been used in our own report. The most powerful probably on this is the tracking or the item tracking functionality. And everybody who ever worked with item tracking knows that this is really hard to get right, because the data to get item tracking sits in different table depending on where you come from. So you have to be really careful on getting the correct data and get it right. So we have gathered that functionality in this temp table, and you can just use the item tracking on a given document report, and we'll figure out where to get the data and present that to you, so you can just use it. You can see there's a lot of these already, and for the next version we'll add repeater table for HTML and for text strings, and also for other tables in here. And if you have suggestions, just write us, and we'll most likely just add it, because it's fairly easy for us to do, and it gives a lot of benefit for customers out there who can just use this functionality, which otherwise would be almost impossible to write in the system. Then I'm going to talk a bit about the JavaScript capabilities, because that's something we often forget, because in each version we add new features to this, and over time it's actually grown to be a lot. So if I go into design and let's delete this and go to the JavaScript records over here. So if I add the VAT amount line and set this to reference the header down here, and then we can set this to be temporary. I don't need to set this to autofill, because if it's temporary, the only way that the table can get values from is that it calls an event to fill it out, because there's nowhere else to do it. And what we also have done, this is not 7.2, but a while back, is that you can actually tell it just not to read one record, but read many. So in this case, I have set it to max 100, because it takes up data and memory, so we don't want to read the whole database. But in this case, I set it to 100, so it'll read the number of VAT amount lines, and the max is 100. And now I can actually go on to the header and to the one of the get record and write code that's that uses this. So if VAT amount line dot first, the text if there's the first record, and then I can do while VAT amount line dot next, and then as long as there's records, it will read the next one. And now I can use the code in here to do a calculation and or do if statements on different things that's in the VAT amount table. So I can actually do coding on top of something that would previously be in a data item, and do funky stuff in terms of calculations or look up things that's deep inside the database in here. So this is things you can do. And let's move back to the record so we can look in some more. Then in some cases you want to not only have filters that come from the parent record, like here the header, you also want it to log to a user or language that's a field on this record. So we simply look for fields that are related to the language table or to the user table, and then you can simply log to the value of the current user or the current language in here to get the correct record. We also enable to put in a parent filter, and what this is used for is if you want to have a lookup on an item for a line on a sales order that has the type item, then you can set in a filter. I want to see the lines that have the type item and not the rest. So you don't get fake records that just by coincidence have an answer number as the number in there. So you can set a filter so you're guaranteed that you will only get items out of this or whatever table you want to in here. So slowly we put more and more in this, so we guarantee that you can get to any record in the system and place the correct filters on your record to do it, and also read many records in one go. Last thing I wanted to show you here is a new function called sum. And in the old days, you needed to, if you wanted to have the sum of the lines, you need to do a JavaScript variable, and then you had to iterate all to the lines to get the sum in here. But since there's a function in AL called calsum, we have decided to also serve that in JavaScript. So if I enter the text box, I can go and say I want to have the line dot field extension, and field extension is this basket of different capabilities inside the record that you want to do on fields. So if I go to the amount, I can get the sum of all the amounts on my lines. In this case, I can also get the sum from the header, so it's not a fantastic example, but you get the idea that I can get the total any place on my report and just display it. And this is also a lot faster than the sum functionality that people love in RDLC, because if there's a calculated field underneath, Business Central will automatically check this and use that to generate the sum. So this is also dead fast in most examples of doing this, but this is a really easy way of doing sums that you can use. But yeah, I think that's all I had for now. I think we have a lot of different things that you need to look in yourself in there. But you can see on this list that we have added a lot of things also to the report pack that that you can use. Probably what's worth mentioning is that this new region format is that Microsoft supports is a way that you natively can format dates and numbers, so they you have the comma and decimal comma and thousand separator in your numbers to be formatted correctly according to what the customer expects, and that we also support in ForNAV, of course, so you can use that. But again, we have added tons of stuff in here that, and most of it is of course based on feedback from partners. So please keep on pushing us, and we'll add it on the way. Any
Thanks,
questions?
Michael. Yeah. Stephanie, have you an overview of the questions?
Yes, we have a few questions. The first question is a generic question, asking whether version 7.2 works together with Business Central 21.
Yeah, it does.
Great. The next question is about ZUGFeRD, and the question is whether it is possible to import ZUGFeRD invoices.
Yeah. So basically, you just go to the purchase invoices, and then there's an action to import it. And we also, if the vendor that's included there doesn't exist, we ask if you want to import, you want to create it. So there's a workflow there that you can use. So imports of invoices and credit memos is also possible to do.
Great. Then we have a few questions about the file service. The first one is whether the file service is active for SaaS and on-premise installation.
Yeah, it works for both. So yeah, and it's the same code that we're using.
Perfect. And then the next question is whether it works in the job queue.
Yeah, really good question. So we also got this morning, and there's actually a file function that still works on cloud, and that's the download. But of course, the problem with download is that it works only if you're on the browser, and it then downloads a file to the user's download directory, which is not really great if you want to automate this. With the ForNAV, you simply set up an alias for the path that where you want to download files, and you can only use these aliases. You cannot just write to C:, so that's also restricted. But you can run any piece of AL code, and it will simply access the file API, and job queue is one of them. You can also create a device UI that has nothing to do with Windows machine, and still use the file API to get to your files. So that all works.
Great. The next question, also about file service, is whether the file service can access URL and network path.
URL not, network path yes, we can. So you can actually map your OneDrive to be used by file service.
All right.
And also we when you are maneuvering in paths, you can dot your way back into a path. So but we have restricted that, so you cannot go beyond the path you have defined in your configuration. So you cannot just go to from any given path and go backwards until you reach C:, and that's not possible. So you have to stay within the path that you have given. That can be a network path, of course. But if you have scenarios regarding URLs, please post that to support@fornav.com, and we'll look at if we want to, if we can and will support the scenario.
Thank you. And I think the last question is about Temp Table, whether it also works for other tables like for example, tariff number?
So the list you saw are the ones that we created. If you want to add more, you simply create a code unit that's that lists to our event. We have that document on the website. Otherwise, just ask us, and then you can implement any temp table in the system. You can also enhance what we have been doing. So if you want to change item tracking for some reason, you can modify our code, or you can simply replace it completely. So you have complete freedom. But the ones I showed you are the ones that we currently have in the system. And as I said, we'll add more over time on demand.
Great. I think those were the questions we had.
Great questions, by the way.
Good. So if that's it, I'd like to say thank you for joining and taking your time for this, and thank you to the team for preparing, and wish you all a good rest of the day. Bye.
Bye.